I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm starting to lose my voice here. I meant to take a cough drop before before I got started here. So I have 10 stories here I wanted to talk about. If I can make it through all of them by still having a voice. So I'm hoping that you can that you're able to hear me, and maybe I should pull the mic up a little bit closer. Let's do that today. We'll pull the mic up. I don't usually like to have the mic in, but it'll make me not have to feel like I talk so loud. So first off, China Evergrande secures bond extension. This could be great or could be bad. China Evergrande has secured an extension on a defaulted bond of more than $250 million. Pretty big drop in the bucket compared to $300 billion of debt. But it is a sign of potential opportunity. It's an opportunity to get back in the saddle and make something happen. The Red reported that Evergrande has won a more than 3 month end quote extension of $260 million bond after agreeing to provide extra collateral. Evergrande did not respond to Reuters' request for comment. News of the extension came after Evergrande said on Wednesday it had scrapped a deal to sell 50% stake of Evergrande Property Services Group to a rival developer, Hobson. The deal is the developer's second to collapse as it scrambles to raise cash. Two sources told Reuters last week about the $1.7 billion sale to Hong Kong of the Hong Kong headquarters had failed as buyers worry about Evergrande's financial situation, which we've talked all about here on the channel. It's not, it's I look, a 3 month, 4 month, 5 month is fine as long as there's a plan to be able to get out of it. Maybe the supply shortages come to an end and they're able to deliver on the things and they're able to get additional credit to pay down to pay into those finishing those units and getting them sold and collecting the monies and then being able to turn the monies over, maybe, just maybe. So hopefully we're seeing this is an opportunity for a light at the end of the tunnel here. I mean, 250 million is still a drop in the bucket of 300 billion, but if they're willing to do it and they seem like they're making good on their chances to secure more money and pay down the debts as much as it possibly can, then maybe they're on something. We will have to wait and see. With that said, Evergrande stock tumbles as $2.6 billion asset sale collapses before key deadline. So the 30-day grace period is coming to an end. It should be here on Saturday for $2.6 billion. No, sorry. It has turned to asset sales, but the stock which halted. I think it halted on the 29th. This says it halted that request on October 4th, pending a major transaction. Resumed trading on Thursday and immediately fell sharply, turning 12.5% lower. It isn't just assets that Evergrande is finding hard to sell. The company said contracted property sales from the beginning of September to October 2020 were $570 million, around 97% lower than the 141.6 billion yuan. I'm not sure how to say their. I should look that up. It reported from September 1st to October 8th, 2020. So, the stock is not doing great. Let's do a quick check on where they're at on 333.HK. Yeah, so it did end at 12.54% down after opening up finally. Since what I recall was September 29th, but maybe September 29th Well, that was a Wednesday. Maybe I think there was a holiday or something, and maybe after the holiday they requested to actually be frozen, and maybe that's the miscommunication there. But hey, it's not the end of the world. Hopefully tomorrow is a new day, and they won't they won't drop 12.5% again tomorrow, and then again and again and again and again. Uh, I'm still hopeful that they will be able to get through this, and for everybody's sake, for people, just the people in China's sake, to everybody who is depending on all the monies to filter around the globe, sake. And this is, hopefully we can get through without too much of a problem. PayPal in talks to buy Pinterest for $45 billion. If accepted, the deal would be the biggest acquisition of a social media company to date. That's surprising because I mean, I know the people that are diehard Pinterest people. They love their Pinterest, which is awesome. They make all the boards and things like that. But I just can't, from business standpoint, I don't know. I don't know that it's worth that much. But yeah, allegedly, PayPal's in talks to acquire digital pinboard platform Pinterest for $45 billion, according to people familiar with the matter. The deal is said to be in late stage talks. Confidential sources told Bloomberg on Wednesday, with Pinterest reportedly being offered at $70 per share, mostly in stock. If accepted, the deal would be the biggest acquisition of a social media company to date, surpassing Microsoft's $26.2 billion takeover of LinkedIn in June of 2016. PayPal is likely to announce the acquisition by the time it reports quarterly earnings on the 8th of November. I didn't think Pinterest made that much money, honestly, to be worth like that much. At least with LinkedIn, they had paid accounts, as well as I believe as well as ads to make it all work. So it's surprising to me that PayPal sees the value there, and maybe the value might be in the tech. I mean, Pinterest started out as I forget what company helped develop it, but like a clothing line or something to that effect was where it was born out of. So it's interesting to see that it might be selling for the like almost double what LinkedIn was worth as a professional network that now. I mean, there's people that are hardcore LinkedIn, but for the most part, LinkedIn is lagged behind in their algorithm and in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I mean, maybe this is what Pinterest needs to get to that next level and explode and really go back to like when it was first a big thing. And I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. If you're a big Pinterest person, I know that, my wife was big into it when it first got started, and then it kind of eroded over time. But, still references back to it from time to time, but it's just not the front of mind that, would be nice to, to people who are trying to grow their business. Next up, a worker in Florida applied to 60 entry-level jobs in September and got one interview. I'm assuming this looks like a what's it called, board? Popeyes board there, now hiring. Businesses across the U.S. say they are struggling to find employees, especially for hourly work. Joey Holes decided to test their claims, submitting 2 applications per day in September, which application submitting is not easy. I've done it in the past, and it's like they want every piece of information that ever existed on you, and then they want your resume on top of that. And it's like, now, all right, cool. I applied for that one job. Now let me go to the next job, and now I need to fill out their whole form on their website and submit my resume on top of that as well. It's a very tedious process. Holes got one interview, and his summary of the experiment went viral on multiple platforms. Joey Holes recalls first hearing complaints about labor shortage last year when he called to make a donation of convalescent plasma at a clinic near Fort Myers, Florida. The guy went on this rant about how he couldn't find help and he can't keep anybody in his medical facility because they all quit over the stimulus checks. Holes told Insider, and I'm like, your medical professionals quit over $1,200 checks? That seems weird. Yeah, that does seem weird. That seems very weird. Over the next several months, he watched as a growing chorus of businesses claimed they couldn't find anyone to hire because of government stimulus money. It was so ubiquitous that he joined a "No One Wants to Work" Facebook group where users made memes deriding frustrated employers. He said he found it hard to believe that government money was keeping people out of the labor force, especially when the end of the expanded federal unemployment benefits in June did not seem to trigger a surge in employment. If this extra money that everyone's supposedly living off of stopped in June and it's now September, obviously that's not what's stopping them. Workers have argued that companies struggling to hire aren't offering competitive pay and benefits. So Holes, a former food service worker and charter boat crewman, decided to run an experiment. On September 1st, he sent job applications to a pair of restaurants that had been particularly public about their staffing challenges. Then he widened the test and spent the remainder of the month applying to jobs, mostly to employers vocal about the lack of workers, and tracking his journey in a spreadsheet. 2 weeks and 28 applications later, he had just 9 email responses, 1 follow-up phone call, and 1 interview with a construction company that advertised a full-time job focused on site cleanup, paying $10 an hour. But Holes said the construction company instead tried to offer Florida's minimum wage of $8.65 to start, even though the wage was scheduled to increase to $10 on September 30th, and wanted, quote, full-time availability while only scheduling part-time until Holes gained, quote, seniority. Holes said he wasn't applying for any roles that he didn't qualify for. Some of the jobs wanted a high school diploma, some wanted retail experience. Most of them either said willing to train or minimum experience, and none of them were over $12 an hour. I didn't apply for anything that required a degree. I didn't apply for anything that said it must have 6 months of experience in this thing. Holes isn't alone. Others have spoken out about their troubles finding work despite the seemingly tight labor market. In a Facebook post on September 29th, which went viral on Twitter and Reddit as well, Holes said, 58 applications says, y'all aren't desperate for workers. You just miss your slaves. My opinion is that this is a familiar story to many. By the end of September, Holes had sent 60 applications, received 16 email responses, 4 follow-up phone calls, and the solitary interview, and shared a pie chart showing the results. 73.3% apply, no reply. Man, Holes acknowledged, however, that his results may not be representative of the larger labor challenges in the country, since his search was local and specifically targeted the most vocal critics of stimulus spending. He also said that despite the claims some businesses struggling to hire, his current boss has had no staffing issues during the pandemic. Nobody leaves those positions because he takes care of his people, Holes said, referring to his boss. And I'm going to ding the bell for that. And that is because, you have to take care of the people that work for you. I think that that is a large part of the tactics that are being used. Like, hey, we're going to pay you, $15 an hour, $20 an hour. But we advertise starting at, but it's really not starting at. We're really going to start at this, and then you can work your way up. And I think that maybe that is a symptom of what's really going on here. I kind of would be curious myself. Maybe I should run an experiment and put myself through the pain of applying to 2 jobs a day for a month and see how many people I get back. Hear back from. Sure, my resume doesn't include degrees, but I just won't apply for any of those jobs. And it probably will be a similar. I expect to have a similar response, that they're just, these companies that are complaining are getting, they're virtually getting by, with the exception of some, as in that Chicago pizzeria story that I shared yesterday, that ended up having to shut down for a day because they just didn't have the workers to be able to operate. It's there's a big shakeup going on, and I don't personally believe that it's just stimulus money. I mean, there's other factors. If you had put your mortgage on forbearance, and you took stimulus money, and if you were able to get unemployment in your state. Now, with that said, Holz is in Florida, and unemployment there is not exactly, it's very little there compared to here in New Jersey. I think it's almost like a third. And from the stories that I've heard, people had a nightmare of a time trying to get unemployment in Florida. So I don't know that that's all. It's not just one thing. And while they do need more help, that doesn't necessarily mean they're willing to pay for it, even if they're advertising that. So maybe it's something. Maybe this is a red flag that, I don't know, the FTC should be looking into. As far as they're advertising one thing and they're offering a totally different thing. And meanwhile, I mean, maybe the big guys, the Walmarts, Targets, and Amazons of the world, they're getting away with being able to afford it because they have the customer base and the revenue, and they'll make it up, in the long term. But yeah, I mean, it sucks for small businesses that are struggling to if you are actually struggling to get people, and maybe you need to reinvent how your business operates. And look, some of those companies that did the illness pivot, some of them have made out really well, some of them have not made out so well. And maybe there's a post-illness pivot that needs to occur in order for you to survive what's the coming months and maybe up to a year or more of issues that are coming from the rubber banding effect of supply chain issues and all that. So we will continue to track stories like this one going forward to see how things pan out. In a surprise to no one, holiday shipping season likely impacted by shipping backlog. The shipping backlog stemming from the California ports is expected to affect the holiday shopping season. Don't wait to holiday shop. That's the message businesses and retail organizations are telling shoppers because of the shipping backlog stemming from the California ports. But we've also, in previous videos, looked at the Savannah, Georgia ports. One manufacturing company is facing months-long delays, which could affect buying electronics. NAS Electronics in Las Vegas provides materials to companies to make electronics like home audio systems, refrigeration sensors, and smart bathtubs. The slowdown at the ports has been a lot longer than we thought it would take. He says they usually see a spike. This time of year in audio amplifier purchases, a great holiday shopper gift that shoppers may have a hard time getting their hands on. It's taking 6 to 12 weeks to get products in, and then 3 to 4 weeks to actually build them. So it's causing a major delay, especially for some consumers or customers who are consumer focused. August through November is peak shipping and shopping season, according to the National Retail Federation. The consumer demand has increased even more this year than we saw last year, and that is certainly fueling the ongoing challenges that we're seeing because of the imports are skyrocketing beyond what we saw last year. Last year, 22 million shipping containers passed through the ports. This year, NRF says it's looking more like 26 million. To keep up with the demand. You're probably going to see a lot of things on back order. You're probably going to see a lot of, oh, I bought this gift for you, instead of actually having the gift in a package. This Yeah, I mean, we talked about this yesterday. I mean, one of my friends on around here ordered a bunch of stuff, I think, from Target, and for Christmas presents, and they were all they weren't back ordered. They were just canceled. The orders were just straight up canceled. So I think there is a crunch coming here. I know. I mean, me personally, we've been buying a little extra food here and there to kind of build up our supply. We've been buying extra snacks and started to buy some of those Christmas presents. But I to a certain extent, I think this could be that big year that Etsy pops off and creates a huge name for itself, because people still want to give those gifts, even if maybe the gifts shouldn't necessarily be physical gifts, but could be memberships to something, or something that is a maybe a donation to an organization that could use the money. Things like that. I mean, I'm completely open to the idea that maybe we're not able to. This year just might have to take a knee for most people's Christmas extravaganza purchasing situations. No, it's just something to watch, and we'll continue to monitor it day in and day out. What is the two-tiered wage system fueling worker strikes? If you're not equal in pay, you're not equal, said one labor union representative. In growing numbers, workers across the country, and we have been following this here on the EntrepreNEWS, demanding better working conditions, benefits, and pay from their employers, while their workplaces vary, ranging from the Bisco and Kellogg to John Deere and Kaiser Permanente. Employees are united in at least one of their grievances: opposition to a two-tier benefit and wage system. The policy, which is often adopted by companies as a way to cut costs, creates two different pay and benefit structures for existing and future employees. For the length of a given contract, existing workers are grandfathered in and guaranteed certain benefits and pay rates, while future employees are hired at a lower pay rate and often receive fewer or worse benefits. Existing workers oppose the policy for several reasons, including that it creates disparities among workers doing the same exact job and essentially penalizes those who join the company later, which can hurt morale, create animosity, and lead to high turnover. High turnover is a problem for for everybody, right? It's that means your manager's got to train more people. That means that your employees that are happy there might end up coming across more people that are unhappy there, creating a bad work culture. It's not, high turnover is not good, not even just from the bottom line standpoint, but just from a people perspective. These future workers are like unborn babies. They don't have a face or a name yet, but we know they're coming behind us. Companies want to take away from future employees, and that isn't acceptable. A two-tier pay or benefit system can also chip away at the power of labor unions, since new hires may be less inclined to join, leading to lower union membership and divided workforces. For existing workers, there are also the concern that adopting such a system could impact their future contracts, which might be subject to the lower tier conditions. While these two-tier systems aren't new, they're certainly having a moment as workers across industries actively resist them. So I mean, this goes on and on. So I'll link the link below, or the story below. But basically, this worker strike situation is it just is another straw on the camel's back, or however they say. And hopefully, as I've said in previous videos, I hope that they get their issues resolved, and I hope that people can get back to work, because it's better for them, it's better for us as consumers and customers, and of course the businesses as a whole. So I would, I'm really hopeful that they within 30 days, 45 days, I don't want to see these things go past that, because it makes it even harder for people to survive in the meantime. These people are not making all that much to hit the strike line. So it's important that that it gets resolved as quickly as possible here, and hopefully in favor of people and the customers that they serve. With that said, this article, they changed careers during the illness. Here's why. Sarah Webb was caring for animals at the zoo and aquariums before shifting to her current job as a death doula, assisting terminal patients. Brandon Ailes, he once was a restaurant owner, now drives an Amazon delivery truck. Americans are leaving their jobs in record numbers for new ventures, whether it's because of a change of heart or a new need to survive. In August, 4.3 million workers called it quits, according to the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics. From the hospitality industry to healthcare, people across the U.S. are changing course, and in many cases, leaving jobs unfilled. NBC News asked people to share their stories of where they switched careers during the pandemic and planning on quitting their jobs. And here's what they had to say. So we have a senior financial analyst became stay-at-home mom. It took the pandemic for me to see that my son needed me. I was on a fast track going nowhere, working long hours at work, worrying about not missing my hair appointments, making sure the house was decorated for the holidays, making it to the school meetings and events on time, vacations, meals, doctor's appointments. The list goes on, but I didn't realize I never took time to get to know my son. That is absolutely heartbreaking. And to be able to take that money, and just be able to say, hey, I'm gonna take a step back and get to know, my son is huge. From a pastor to a business owner, I'm an outside the box thinker, and where I was serving, they were more used to a traditional approach. So a lot of people were uncomfortable with my methods. The anxiety caused by the illness and the retirement of a longtime lead pastor exacerbated these feelings, and I didn't want to be the cause of a conflict in the church. I also have disabled children whose disabilities needed me home to help with them when crises strike. I started my own business using games like Dungeons and Dragons to help people make others' lives better. I'm bridging the lives of disabled and non-disabled people to help non-disabled people become more familiar and empathetic, and I'm employing disabled people in the production of the materials. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's Dale in West St. Paul, Minnesota. Restaurant owner to Amazon truck delivery driver, right? After receiving no major funding or bailouts except for the initial PPP loan, we were forced to close our restaurant. That's horrible. A once successful and thriving business. It's been a painful year, and I had to do something to put food on the table. That's Brandon in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Club manager to office manager. The club had closed because of the illness and scheduled to move locations, which is still being built today. I have applied for many jobs. Being 58, it is hard to find a job. Seems like everyone wants to make me a janitor. Wow, that's Frank in Portland, Oregon. Accounts receivable specialist to mystery shopper. I was doing mystery shopping as a part-time gig on the side, and I wanted to see if I can make it a full-time gig. So I will have to see if I can make more at the end of the year, but I get to do my own schedule, and I'm much happier. Place Lana from Liberty, Missouri. Industrial construction to DoorDash. I got laid off before the illness. My partner got lung cancer. That's terrible. And I started DoorDashing to be home with her. That's Rita from Mesquite, Nevada. Assisted living resident aide to bank teller. The decline of the elderly not being able to physically touch their loved ones or anyone other than their spouse, limiting their socializing. They couldn't even eat out with each other. They couldn't even eat with each other. Very hard to watch, and them questioning why, and me not being able to give them an end date. That's Kelly in Keystone, Iowa. Civil engineer to a life coach for widowed moms. My husband died in 2019, and I joined the group shortly after. When the illness hit, focusing on civil engineering while my kids were remote learning became increasingly difficult. So I left my job at the same time. I was talking to my life coach about how I could help other widowed moms like myself. So I joined her team. It's Jamie in Broomfield, Colorado. This just goes on. I'm just going to start reading. Development and communication specialist to content creator entrepreneur. That's Maggie in Philadelphia. I'll read that one. Working for myself full time was always my goal, but it wasn't until after over a year in the illness that it finally felt like it was the right time. So much loss had happened during the illness. There is kind of a YOLO attitude I picked up. If not now, then when? Because tomorrow isn't promised. Animal care at zoos and aquariums to death doula. That's Sarah in Chattanooga. You got the corporate collections for an elevator company to a spa desk worker. I'm making $10 an hour less and only getting about 25 hours a week. The elevator industry is a niche market. I had no choice but about accepting my new job. Sixth grade teacher to mortgage business. Bartender to emergency room registration. A food service worker to a food truck business owner. I like that, to hear that. The toxicity in my workplace. I was laid off for 6 months during the illness, and the quality of life literally skyrocketed. Or the quality of my life literally skyrocketed. I was called back to work in September 2020, and it really brought to light how toxic my workplace had really become. In August of this year, I had the opportunity to purchase a small food truck with my daughter, so I jumped on the chance, quit my job of 10 years, and I have never been happier. That's a great job from Kara in Eugene, Oregon. So, yeah, this is part of what we've been talking about here on the EntrepreNEWS of like, it's not just, stimulus checks. It's not just, people taking advantage of different programs and staying home and not doing the things that they should be doing. But it's also people just moving their life around, and giving more thought to like what's really important to them and how they want to live their life. Because tomorrow is not a promise to anyone. And that's why, I always preach when it's like, look, you could start a business, but if you're not building that business for your lifestyle, the lifestyle that you want to live so you can be happy in that moment of, or at least 80 to 90%, maybe even 70%, as low as 70% of the time, then what are you doing? Why are you doing it? It's not owning, a business isn't necessarily for everyone. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But at the worst case scenario, even if you're watching this as because you love your side hustle and you're like, well, maybe I can make it, maybe I couldn't, but I really don't like what I'm doing as my main income source. Maybe it's time to go and find a new main income source. Obviously, there are worker shortages in places. It's different. We talked about it in the last video where somebody applied for 60 jobs in 30 days and got one interview out of that. It does kind of, paint a picture, but what I I want people to be happy with the decisions that they're making and the life that they are choosing to live. It doesn't have to be the way it is, and it does. Owning a business is not necessarily the answer for everybody. Having a side hustle, probably, but not necessarily owning a business day in and day out. And that's where, making sure that what you're doing in your day job is advancing you in your life and your career and just how you feel, and making sure that you're not exposing yourself day in and day out to a toxic environment. Climate change is skewing economic data, and the stakes are high for economists to get it right. So with President Joe Biden's push to make climate change a priority in corner offices and on trading floors, the administration is arguing that climate change and extreme weather are incurring real, if not always well quantified, economic cost. Data about the industrial output, worker demand, and productivity, inflation, and earnings are critical inputs for all kinds of economic forecasts. But putting a dollar amount on the effects of climate change means figuring out how to measure it first and incorporate the cost of the changes that lie ahead, because traditional economic calculus has no mechanism to do that. Economists and analysts warn that the statistical foundation is increasingly at risk of distortion or unintentional misrepresentation. So I'm going to link this article down below, but we have the carbon credit tax and stuff like that, but what I really want to talk about is, you look at a company like Disney where they've put out these reports, I guess you would call them reports, about how they foresee the future of climate change and what they're doing to make a real impact, right? Like, and they've been talking about this stuff for, I think the earliest was probably back in the 60s or 70s, where they were talking about like water table, because they're one of their cash cows is in Florida, right? Disney World. And what they are concerned about with, like, as far as hurricanes, flooding, and the potential for like it not to be there, right? Because they know that they built on swamplands, like they literally are below the sea level. So these are things that these big companies, they know about it, they're thinking about it, because they need to be able to operate like, in Disney's case, they have the island, right? The Castaway Cay that they lease for, I think it's a 100-year lease or something like that, 99-year lease. And in that case, they need to make sure that they're protecting their asset and making sure that people know that they are concerned about it. So I think that there's some real thought that's gone into it. Maybe not enough action, maybe not enough money invested in those sectors, but there's more to come. And I think that as these 100-year storms become like every 10 years and every 5 years and every 2 years and every 1 year, and like all of the time, as things like that ramp up, I think it just becomes more and more clear that like there needs to be some kind of answer, because we're not doing any favors as far as figuring out like what the future is going to look like. And with that said, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything has to fall on this generation, as far as like the cost of doing these things. But there needs to be an answer, because there might not be, in the too far distant future, there just might not be as much of, say, land around us, as temperatures warm up and things get continue to get dicey. So, so check out the article down below. Elon Musk's Boring Company gets the okay for Las Vegas's underground tunnel project, which is pretty Pretty cool. Elon Musk's vision for an underground transit has received a green light in Las Vegas. Commissioners in Clark County, Nevada, which includes the gambling and tourism mecca, has given unanimous approval for the Boring Company to create a Vegas loop and underground transportation network. The plan was proposed. The plan as proposed will take Tesla vehicles to destinations such as the Las Vegas Strip, the stadium home of the NFL's Las Vegas Raiders, and the campus of the University of Nevada at Las Vegas. A smaller scale version of the plan already operates at the Las Vegas Convention Center and has been well received by users. I've seen videos. If you haven't seen it, you should go and check out some videos of it. A tunnel at the Resorts World Hotel in Las Vegas is now under construction, in plans for completion of early 2022. Within a year, I would hope that we would be under construction with portions of the main system, and then we can continue to expand it from there. When completed, it'll about 700 Tesla vehicles will be able to travel through the system simultaneously, with about 57,000 people transported per hour. Use of the Vegas Loop will be based on fares, which he estimates between $5 and $20 per trip. Depending on destinations, Hill continued. He said most trips would likely cost more than riding on a public transit, but less than using the ride-hailing service. The initial Vegas Loop could later be expanded in other parts of the region, the company said. And the advantages of the Boring Company's plan that travelers will be able to reach their destination without traffic lights, stop signs, or other impediments along the way. Musk's company plan is not using tax dollars and will rely on local contractors and local workers, according to Clark County officials. The Boring Company previously announced plans for other transit loops in Florida in July and Texas in August. Big fan of this. I think, going under makes a lot of sense. We'll see if they can get through on Florida and Texas. Just because they announced the plans doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get through. I know that there was some people in Florida that were pretty against doing the loop, especially because, they're like, oh, well, we got the sinkhole problem here, and now you're going to put a tunnel inside of, Sinkhole City, or Sinkhole capital of the country. So, yeah, I don't know if it's going to work out down there, but it's good to see that there's opportunity for that. I mean, I guess it would, it said that it would be able to move 57,000 people per hour, which is pretty incredible. I mean, if this works, like, I could see, like, maybe, well, probably not Disney, because they're pretty hooked in with GM. But if that relationship were to end, I could see Disney utilizing this as a mode of transportation around the Disney World Resort, between the hotels and everything. So if they can figure out the Florida issues, and not have to worry about sinkholes and things like that, then maybe they got something there that could be great for Disney to utilize. Finally, today we have a story, a positive story out of Philadelphia. Black-owned business donates playground to neighborhood school in Northern Liberties. Phil Clark is a father of 6. All of his kids have gone or are still going to St. Peter the Apostle School. So which is just so great. I appreciate seeing people using their platform and their business and their income to be able to do things that benefits lots of kids. Lots of people in their community. Apparently, he runs the Run Shoe Store. I felt something different. I felt something different once it was all here and people were just playing with it. It just really warmed my heart, said Clark, who owns the Run Shoe Store in the neighborhood. The gym and sports shoe store owner is a father of 6. And at the beginning of the school year, Clark's wife, Shakira, found out the schoolyard was empty. The couple knew they had to help. I grew up playing foursquare, basketball, hopscotch, and all the playgrounds of all the schools I've ever gone to. So I wanted that for them. I didn't like that they didn't have the options. They bought different kinds of balls and jump ropes, drew foursquare and hopscotch, and even installed an NBA-sized basketball hoop. It is very humble. Or he is very humble, and says he did a lot together, but really he did all the heavy lifting in making this happen. And the kids are just thrilled every day, said Sister Danielle Truix, the principal of the school. Stocking the playground actually took a lot of research, like needing to buy different size basketballs so that different age groups could use them all. We started off by doing some research into the physical activities that made the most sense for this age group, and then honed that down by what would make the most sense in that space. Clark is a product of the Catholic education. Now having a Black-owned business, helping a diverse school, he hopes these kids can learn an important lesson. The good things of the world are meant for everyone, said Clark. Ding, ding. Absolutely love it. It's so great when business owners can do something great to give back to a system that has helped them, and helped see them through their adolescent or years that they needed the help the most. So absolutely love it. Thank you all for watching today. My voice is pretty shy. I'm going to go drink some tea and get some honey and all that stuff. So I appreciate you watching and being a part of the EntrepreNEWS today. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow for Friday, the last day of the EntrepreNEWS. And Friday night, we will have the 4 new pitches from Shark Tank. Look for a preview video of this Friday's Shark Tank, probably later today, if not tomorrow morning. Have a great day. I'll talk